Good afternoon and welcome. Zoom had its issues this morning, so I'm hopeful that everybody's able to get on, that was looking to get on. At least I know if you're here, you're joining us. But we are kicking off the System Design and Management information session. Over the next hour, we're going to go through some background on the SDM program. We're also going to, excuse me, take some time, and we've got several students that are going to be joining us. And our goal here is to offer you a chance for a question and answer session where you can ask not only of the program staff, but also ask current students about their experience and hopefully sort through some of your questions that you might have as you consider a graduate degree program. So just as a quick overview, SDM, we live in a world of acronyms at MIT. SDM is the System Design and Management Program. It is a joint degree, a professional master's degree. It's jointly offered between the School of Engineering here at MIT and the Sloan School of Management. I'll talk in a little bit about what that means in terms of courses and requirements, but it's basically a balanced degree program that culminates in a Master of Science in Engineering and Management. The program started just over 25 years ago. We actually just celebrated our 25th anniversary this past spring, but it started as a partnership between MIT and industry. Industry came to us and said, there's a lot of problems that we face in the world today that are requiring us to deal with complexity. We have to think about things from a systems perspective instead of being able to, deal with a problem and a product in isolation. And so they asked us to help think and imagine a degree that would help develop systems level expertise and being able to manage these large scale complex projects. We've been around for 25 years. We are evolving each year. We listen to our stakeholders. We modify. Our goal is to be relevant in industry today as it was 25 years ago. I'll also talk in a little bit, but we are MIT's first degree granting distance education program and one of the few programs that still is career compatible to try and help you manage graduate school and a career or family or other requirements. It doesn't mean that it's fully at a distance. And again, I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but it does allow you a little more flexibility in how you craft the degree. It's always good to ground talking about the SDM program to talk about where our mission was and where we came from. Tom Magnetti is still active at MIT. He's still involved in the program. But I think his words from 25 years ago are as true today as they were back then, which is this is a program for those that want to lead, not leave engineering. We're really looking at helping develop people who are thought leaders in the technical field, but that they want to continue to work with technology, whether it's architecting, engineering, or designing complex problems. We want you as graduates of this program to be the leaders of these organizations. I think it's useful to note that if you look at the list of Fortune 500 companies, about 3 years ago, for the first time, there were more technology-based backgrounds than there were MBAs. And so organizations are recognizing that having technical skills are really critical to leading organizations. We also take as one of our missions to being at the leading and at the forefront of this career-compatible professional education. We've been doing distance education long before COVID and Zoom. We date back to sending videotapes 25 years ago to be able to give students distance education, but we've evolved with technology, and we're committed to making sure that the most advanced technology that's available is what we use to deliver distance education. I want to talk a little bit about this idea of what is systems thinking, because I think many of you may be familiar with system engineering. And system engineering is part of it, but it is not what we define as systems thinking. When we talk about systems thinking and the systems in this program, it's really looking at a holistic perspective. It's looking at understanding products, technologies, processes from their interfaces, their connections, really looking at this idea of the world is not static, technology is not static, it's dynamic, and looking at these and understanding and being able to work with this complexity, these feedback loops, this different way of thinking about systems and design. And so the core class that we teach, the SDM core, is really grounded in helping you understand and being able to think from a systems perspective about complexity. Here at MIT, we sit, as I mentioned, as we opened, we sit at the intersection of the Sloan School and the School of Engineering, but it's even a little bit more than that. So you can think of it from the Sloan School of Management as developing subject matter expertise in a whole host of different areas that Sloan offers. So it could be operations, it could be in thinking about strategy, it may be thinking about organizational behavior. You as a student at SDM have access to all courses and all action learning labs. You are a student of the Sloan School. It also gives you access to research and conferences here at Sloan. Similarly, you're a student of the School of Engineering. It gives you access to the departments, the courses, the labs, everything that goes on in the School of Engineering. You are expected to write a Master of Science thesis as part of this. And while it can be through Sloan or the School of Engineering, there's a framework that's there that I think is very much based in the School of Engineering. We see a lot of our students that get engaged in and participate in research and research labs in engineering, but also take on roles as research assistants and teaching assistants. We know that as a professional master's program, it's really critical for us to stay connected to industry. And so we work closely with industry for projects. Our core class has a semester-long project that we invite industry to come in and offer ideas and project content. But we also do work with collaborative research with industry. Companies sponsor students to come in, and we work across the board. MIT is, and kind of the last quadrant here is that MIT has put a lot of focus over the years on innovation. In fact, the building that we're in here on campus, the ground floor houses the Martin Center for Entrepreneurship. And as an SDM student, as an MIT student, you have access to the full set of entrepreneurship capabilities here at the Institute, whether it's the Martin Center, whether it is through the 10K competition, or 100K competitions, I'm sorry, or through some of the sandbox funding for ideas for startups. There's sandbox funds available for students to go start to test ideas. If we talk about SDM itself, I want to give an overview of what comprises this degree. So there's two different programs we offer, and I'll walk through them separately. The first is the master's degree here at SDM. It is a single degree, a Master of Science in Engineering and Management. It requires a minimum of 90 course units plus 24 thesis units. And for those of you that have come out of a conventional US university, those 90 units may be awfully intimidating. Course units are done differently here at MIT, and that's why it's not called credits, but it's called units. And generally a course, the number of units for a course will reflect how many hours a week you spend on that course content. So a typical engineering course is 12 units. A typical management course is either 6 or 9 units. So if you think about that, it means that you're required to take the equivalent of what generally ends up being about 3 semesters of moderate course load. The degree begins in August. There's a 2-week orientation program that we require all master's students to go through, and those are prior to Labor Day. Classes actually start the first Wednesday after the Labor Day holiday. The thesis is a requirement, and you'll find that theses often tie in either to faculty research areas or potentially areas that a student has from their own background, connecting in with expertise of faculty here on campus. You'll see that there's not a single length to the program. It's not you don't come in and have a set number of courses you take and you take them in lockstep. Students can complete in as little as a year. More typical that students take 16 or 21 months. If it's done in a year, there's limitations on the other things you can engage in as part of your time here at MIT. And we'll talk a little bit more, and I'm sure we'll get into that in the Q&A. The master's degree has a focus on systems. As we've talked at the start, it prepares you to lead large projects, large programs. We've had data that can help demonstrate that graduates often move faster in their careers. They progress more quickly. It does require, although I talked about the idea of a distance, There is a university requirement here at MIT that every student, whether they're distance or on campus, has to take a minimum of 1 semester. So if you think about trying to fit this in and fit this into your lifestyle, you would have to be able to commit to a 13-week semester physically here on campus. The MIT ecosystem is pretty unique. The amount of lectures, activities, hackathons, things that happen on campus are extensive. And the university believes that part of the degree should be experiencing this MIT ecosystem. And so, think about your capabilities and willingness to be able to spend 1 semester on campus, because that will be the requirement of the degree. There is a secondary option through SDM, and it is the Sdm Certificate Program. The Sdm Certificate Program, the students take that same SDM core, that same systems core class that we teach for the master's degree student. You take it with them. It's not done separately. It's not a watered down experience. Over the course of the year, you get 36 units. And then to finish off the program, our certificate students do a comprehensive capstone project. We look at, to have you identify a problem or a project that's happening in your company, in your industry, that you can dig into deeper and use the SDM principles. And it's done in a guided fashion where you've got oversight and support from the MIT faculty here. So the certificate program is 12 months. It's the same SDM core that the master's students take. It includes that real world capstone problem. The difference here is this program can be done almost exclusively at a distance. There is no residency requirement to the certificate program. The only exception to that is that we do require you to come for 1 week of orientation in the fall with the master's students so that you can build community for people you're going to be in class with. We require you to come for 1 week in January, and that week in January is a technology showcase. It's having companies come in and pitch projects, but it's also a week-long intensive seminars that happen. And then we ask you to come back for one more time, which is 2 days in May. And in that May timeframe, it's the presentation of those final projects. The result of the certificate program is a certificate in system design and management. It is a master's degree level transcript you will receive, although you don't receive the full master's degree. Some students have taken and transferred these credits either to a different university or here at MIT as a transfer of those credits into the full master's degree program. So I want to take a couple minutes and just talk about who are our students. So an average student has 8 to 10 years of professional experience. We intentionally make sure that the students come from a wide range of industries. Our belief is you learn as much from the person sitting next to you in the classroom as you do from the professor at the front of the room. And so that blend of backgrounds, both in terms of industries, but also in terms of your personal experience, be it in software or hardware or manufacturing, also helps build that shared experience. About 40 to 50% either have partial or full sponsorship by their company. It is by no means required, but we do work closely with companies to be able to help make sure that the program can come together. About 30% are local commuters, so they live somewhere in the Boston area. They may be working part-time or full-time, but they come to campus and they take classes on campus. And about half are US citizens. This gives you a little bit of a sense of where our students come from. We typically have 5 or 6 of the continents represented. We don't have Antarctica. And we see a broad geographic diversity of where they come from and a broad diversity, as I mentioned, in terms of their industries. It may be a little bit surprising that about half of our students do actually come with advanced degrees already. Oftentimes they've hit a point in their career where they recognize they're missing some skill sets that they think are going to help make them effective in the next stage of their career. And so we do have about 40% of our students hold a master's degree, and anywhere between 5 and 10% each year already come in with either a PhD, an MD, and occasionally we do get a JD as well. As part of our orientation, we did a little bit of a dig into the background of where people came from. And these is a word cloud of the background, if their most recent job title, what are some of the key words that come in as part of their title. And it's not really designed here necessarily to have you dig in, but it's more to help you understand if it's something that you see as a fit given the types of backgrounds the folks have that are coming in. As I said before, we are very intent on making sure that there is a broad range of industries represented here. And it's everything from commercial enterprises to government, aviation, heavy machinery, to companies like Apple and Amazon represent the companies that come in to the program. And this gives you a little bit of a different perspective, is the logos of the most recent or their current employer. You'll see that there's about 43 logos here. We had 93 students come in the most recent class, so it'll give you some flavor of the fact that there are some that send multiple students, but there's a lot of representation from around the globe in companies and types of industry. This is the last one, just as far as giving you an idea of what our students look like. And I want to do this for two reasons, which is one, I talked about the fact that people are mid-career, but mid-career can mean a number of different things. And so there is a bell-shaped curve of how much experience people have. So we do have some people that are younger and earlier in their career cycle. And then the vast majority fall in that early 30s, kind of at the point that they've often been in a job or two and are really looking to pivot or expand their role or responsibility. And then we have people further in their career that have a need or desire to come back and upskill with technology that's going to help make them more relevant in terms of where they want to take their career. Before I go on, I just want to give a quick apology that I spent 2.5 years and I managed to avoid COVID. And it finally grabbed me about 3 weeks ago, and it's gone and I'm done and I'm feeling fine, but the cough is still continuing. So I apologize for coughing here and there. Let me talk and switch gears over to the curriculum. So every student, whether they're a master's degree student or a certificate student, take the integrated core course sequence. It runs in the fall. There's a January term here at MIT and it continues into January and it wraps up in the spring semester. It is on average of 15 units per semester. In January, it's less, but because the January term is shorter, it's the equivalent load in January. So at the completion of the core, you have 36 units of credit here at MIT. Our goal with the core is to give you both breadth and depth in systems. We do it in what we call a spiral approach. So we introduce in the fall the concepts and some of the tools for system architecture, systems engineering, and project management. And then we cycle back later in the fall and we dig a little bit deeper into specific case studies to help you understand how these come to light in the real world. In January, at the start of the January term, we invite companies in and they bring in a problem. You're not working for those companies. In fact, we don't take money from the companies because we want to have you have the flexibility to take it in whatever direction you feel is most appropriate, but you have the support of an organization and the data and a real world challenge to work on. And that the springtime ends up being another rotation into system architecture, systems engineering, and project management, but with a real world problem you're trying to solve. The class is a combination of lectures, in-class discussion. We bring in experts from around the globe. We do team projects and there's also individual assignments. So it's a combination of things that make up the class. And the springtime, as I mentioned already, it culminates with a semester-long project that is based on a real world problem. Outside of the core, for anyone who's continuing on in the master's degree program, there is a balanced number of units that happen in the management school at Sloan and in the engineering school here at MIT. So on the management side, we ask you to take 12 units, it's generally 2 courses, in a foundational area of management. From that perspective, think about taking the types of classes you would take as part of an MBA program. So you don't get all of the classes from an MBA, but you'll take a couple classes that are core to an MBA program. You also have the ability to take elective units. And again, this could be 2 or 3 classes anywhere across the Sloan curriculum. There's 100 plus, I think there's somewhere around 150 different graduate management classes. And you can go in there and pick and choose. As part of the advising that we do, both on the management classes and on the engineering classes, is a discussion about your personal goals and objectives. And so this curriculum can be crafted to really help meet you where you're at and help fill in those gaps that you have in your background. It's a similar story on the engineering side. So we ask you to do an engineering depth class. Most engineering classes are 12 units, so this is typically a single class. There's a dozen or so classes that are approved. What distinguishes these classes is it takes a topic that we talk about in the core, something that has to do with systems, and it goes in more depth. So it helps give you depth to the breadth that you had in the core class. And then outside of that, and generally it's 2 classes on the elective side for engineering, you can go anywhere at the Institute. So if you're a civil engineer, you can go in depth there. If you're a computer scientist, you can go in depth there. If you're looking to broaden some of the skills that maybe look at operations, you can dig in those areas. It's really up to you and it's your choice. I think one of the biggest struggles our students have as they start the program is being able to figure out how to get through the course catalog and figure out what are these 7 or 8 classes that they'll likely take outside of the core. And how do you down select off these hundreds of classes to those 7 or 8 that are going to matter to you? The one requirement that we have at the end is that your engineering and your management units must balance by graduation. We know that it's not always possible to hit them exactly because the number of units in engineering is different from management. So we give you a 12-unit window. You can be 12 units higher on engineering or management, but other than that, there must be a balance between the 2 schools at graduation. So to put it into a single diagram here, the integrated core at the top is 36 units. Everybody takes this. And then you're required to take depth in engineering, electives in the engineering side and foundation and electives on the management side, a total of 54 units split evenly between those 2 areas. And finally, there's a single integrated thesis that touches on both topics. So a single master's thesis to be able to earn the degree. Career compatible. There are a lot of different options here, and every year we have students that fall in all of these buckets and sometimes change during their time here at MIT. So from a master's degree perspective, we have students, and probably about half of our population are on campus full-time. We have commuters that are local, and it's probably, again, anywhere from 20 to 30% of our cohort. Kendall Square here in Cambridge is a hub of technology, and we have students that'll walk over from the Google building, the Facebook, Draper Labs, from some of the biotech firms that are here in Cambridge, and they come to campus and they take their classes on campus and then go back to work. Or whether they're working remote or in person, there's flexibility here in the Boston area to do that. And then we have students that are around the globe. Generally, they take the first year at a distance and they take the core during that first year. And then they plan out their second year to come to campus for 1 semester to complete their elective and depth classes. And then this remaining semester of their second year, they oftentimes will do their thesis work. So they'll be sourcing out ideas for the thesis, but really dedicating that semester they're not on campus to be able to complete the thesis. Given the variety here, again, there's a whole host of varieties in the way that students do it. The only requirement is that you're physically here on campus for at least 1 semester. The pathways, 12 to 24 months for a master's degree. There are some that take longer. Some commuter students take only 1 or 2 classes a semester throughout, and it often takes them closer to 3 years to complete. The certificate is a fixed 12-month program. It requires those 2 weeks, 1 in August, 1 in January on campus, and then the 2 days in May. The certificate kicks off in August and it finishes in August. Here's just a snapshot of what our distance classroom looks like. We're all familiar with Zoom right now. You can kind of get an idea of the fact that one of the screens has a Zoom screen on it. One of the screen has lectures. As students, you have the option to see both of those as well. Our TAs work very closely to make sure that questions and comments from a distance are being represented in the classroom. When you speak to the whole classroom. You see the students that are speaking in the classroom. The video will hone in on them as well. And so our goal is to be able to help make you feel like you're part of the classroom, even if you're not there. It is a synchronous live session. There are discussions, there are opportunities where students work with each other during the class. At the same time, we do record all classes. We recognize those that are working full-time and attending at a distance. You may have a business trip that you just can't get out of. You may have a meeting that is critical and you can't step out for class. And so all classes are recorded. Those recordings are available within a day of the class ending. So you can go in and you can listen and you can watch and stay at current. We also have a Canvas-based web course management system, which is where lecture materials, homeworks, these videos all reside. And so you've got that active resource as well. There's always a question about what does this mean to me from a dollar perspective. I will give you the caveat here that this data is from the COVID period. You're going to look at the bottom, it's 2020, you're looking at saying 2022, why are we so out of date? The reason that we're out of date is we do it on a calendar year, and then we look at data for where students are 6 months post-graduation. So for those that finished at the end of 2021, we started to do the surveys in July. The new 2021 data will be published within the next month. What I can tell you is that the 2021s post-COVID, the salary is actually up. We've got enough of the data to know that the salary has increased and that the salary average increase is up. But I don't have all of the full data, and I don't want to go into details on things that we have not done the full analysis on that data. So it'll be up within the next month. You'll be able to see the 2021 employment data, and that may give you a little better sense post-COVID. What we do know is that the vast majority of our students that are in the job search do stay in the US. The West Coast and the Northeast are the most popular places, but we do see people that find jobs and choose to pursue employment around the country. This information is on our website, but it is a nice snapshot of the places that our students went to. Our students do recruit through the general MIT career office. We have a special dedicated person here in the SDM office, Julie Papp, who works one-on-one with our students as part of their job search. She has career service support offerings. She also works to help make sure that you can build the networks to find the jobs you're looking for. Similarly, we get questions about, well, what does it mean for the next job that I'm going to take? This is a sampling, but it is a fair sampling of the places that people have gone. So it's everything from systems engineers to solution architects to product managers and program managers to students that have founded their own company and they're CEOs, CTOs, et cetera. So there's a wide range. Obviously, there's a strong technology bent to the types of jobs that our students take, but it does range from pure technology jobs to people that are more involved in the business and the strategy side of organizations. As I mentioned before, it's really important for us to stay close to industry. We know that the vast majority of our students are going to return to industry for their next role and their next job. And so we bring in and we work with companies that sponsor students. We bring in companies for pitching team projects. We have them as guest lecturers. We bring them in just for lunch and learns, lightning talks, things like that. We work closely to be able to work on internships and full-time hires. What I think you'll all realize is that if the average age of our students is in the early to mid 30s, going into a typical post-college job is not the right answer. And so the job search looks a lot more like what you would do as a mid-career transition. And so we work closely with companies, but with our students to be able to help you build that network for that transitional job. We do site tours. We do a tech trek out to the Bay Area annually. We typically do that in the spring, although this summer we went in July as companies started to open up again. There's also a group that goes to Japan in January. So it's an important part of our curriculum and learning to be able to have a chance to see how different companies are tackling projects. And we also have companies that sponsor research. With that, I know that the chat box has been growing. I haven't had it open to be able to see where we're at, and I know that some of our students and our staff help answer. But I would love to open it up to questions. Amal, it may be helpful if you can help provide a little bit of background, but I also would love to welcome our student panelists. And unfortunately, with the presentation here, I don't have our students up online, but if our students could take a moment and introduce themselves, I think it would help those that are listening in and interested in potentially joining SDM to know a little bit more of your background. So feel free to jump in and just give a little bit of your background. Amal, I don't know if you can help us with calling out some different folks that are here or potentially online. And if not, we'll jump over to the questions that are coming. All right, we'll figure out our panelists, but in the meantime, let me grab a couple of the hands that have been raised. Majid, if you'd like to go ahead first, go ahead and ask a question.
All right. Hi, my name is Majid. I think this was a great presentation. I'm an aspirant to be joining MIT next year. So my question is in regards to, again, I think you've covered most of it, but the work-life balance, currently working for a large tech company, moving down to Boston would be a bit difficult, but I just want to know from student experience if there are any, how did they manage a very demanding work with an MIT course? So if you have any students there who can give some.
I'm trying to see if we have any of our students on board, and if not, I can give you some answers. What we tried to make sure we've got info sessions throughout the year at different times of day, and unfortunately, this is one of the more popular class times for our students. So about half of our students are working while they take the program, and so they're both in class. Sorry, they're both in work and doing it. You know, their comment is that the class takes about 20 hours a week. It's advertised as 15 units. It should be 15 hours. But the comment was, if you look at it real time, it's probably about 20 hours of class a week. And so you'd have to give a really honest assessment of your own kind of work time and balance and be able to understand if that's something that you can give. The way we try to help people understand is that class meets twice a week. It's 2 hours for both Monday and Wednesday of class time, and you're expected to be in class. On Tuesday and Thursday, there's a 1 hour recitation. You're recommended to come. It's not required. You don't get graded on participation for the recitation. And so some of our distance students choose to log on afterwards and review what happened in recitation offline, just as a way to be able to manage schedules better. But if you think about those 6 hours during the week of being class time, then it means you've got about 10 hours that you would need to juggle between evenings and weekends. And so if that's something that you think is feasible, then that's something that we could look at and say that's realistically what the expectation would be to be able to manage both of these two things at the same time. The challenge is always, and I recognize this, is the semester that you have on campus. That's not easy for a lot of people to do. Some people opt to tag in personal time along with a short leave of absence from the company. Others, with the flexibility that they've had post-COVID, will come to campus and they'll work remote during the year or semester that they're here. Sometimes they'll come for a year because they can't fully disengage from work, and they'll do that balancing act. But we'll work with you to be able to fulfill whatever it is that might fit. But it's the one semester on campus is not negotiable. It is a requirement. I know I've got some other hands up. I'm going to jump to some other hands, and then we will go through whatever questions may be in the chat that haven't been answered yet. So Patrick, I see you there. I'm going to open up and allow you to talk.
Hello, I hope you can hear me.
We can definitely hear you.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm considering taking part of the SDM Master Program, and I already talked to the company working now, which is willing to support me. But the question is, what is the normal case? Like, which kind of support does students become while working, while taking the classes? Do you recommend to try to take a leave of absence and try to finish the work within 12 months, or rather stay part-time on part-time work and then take more time? Is it like the best case scenario you can imagine?
It's different for every company and for every student, and unfortunately, there isn't any typical, so to speak. We have a group of students that come in from an energy company, and they come for a single year and they come for an intensive year. In doing that, they really have to disengage, as you said. They have to come and really focus on schoolwork because it is an intense year. We have other students, and I think it's a better way to go through the program just from being able to absorb what you've got and participate here at MIT, where they do that first year at a distance and continue to work. And so their expectations for their company is usually that they are at or close to a normal level of workload. And then during the second year, they arrange to come to campus. And they do it for either one semester or for the 9 months. But it does vary by company and by student. Be happy to talk to you separately, offline. If you send a note to the admissions office, we'll connect you with myself or with Ignacio, who is our industry and certificate director, to be able to help talk through ways that we can work with your company to be able to help make it work.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jackie, Jackie Lau, I'm going to open up and let you go ahead and speak here, if I got this correct.
Hello, Joanne, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're awfully faint. I don't know if it's easier to get a little bit closer to the microphone.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So my question is, does this program accept any transfer credits from, more specifically, another MEM program?
Unfortunately, we don't accept transfer credits. MIT's belief is that bringing in, that it's important, they won't allow credits that have been used for another degree to count for SDM credits. And so they're very adamant that the credits have to be earned here at MIT. The exceptions that we make is that if you do come in with an MBA already, that the foundation credits in management can be taken as electives instead. So you still would have to take 27 management credits, but they can all be elective instead of requiring them to be foundational credits.
Got it. Thank you. And I hope you get well soon.
Oh, I actually ironically feel fine. It's just the cough that won't go away. But thank you. Jorge, I've got you. If I can get my system to work, go ahead.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you for the enriching presentation. It was very clear, everything on the presentation. So I have two questions. The first one is that I am planning to apply to the on-campus SDM program, the master's program. But I would like to know if there are any assistantships available to fund part of our studies.
Unfortunately, for the certificate, so sorry, let me take 2 steps here. For our certificate program, there is no funding available. But your question, I think, was related to the master's degree.
Correct.
The master's degree does not have any fellowships specifically from SDM. That being said, many of our students are able to secure either research assistantships or teaching assistantships here at MIT, and they're able to fund the majority of their education. What I will say is it's very hard to get an RA or a TA prior to stepping on campus. Typically, it takes a relationship with a faculty member to be able to do an RA or TA and get that funding. So we strongly recommend that students have at least 1 semester of funding firmly identified. There is not a guarantee that you'll be able to get an RA or TA, but the vast majority of our students, because of their experience and because of their professional professional experience as well as actual technical experience, are usually successful in finding them. We will work with you, but we can't guarantee the funding will be there. I hope that helps, and I wish we did have funding that we could give.
No, that really helps. Thank you for your answer. And also, I have a second question.
Sure.
So I plan to start my studies in the fall semester.
Yep.
So would that mean that it would be possible to have internships between the winter and the spring semester and between the spring and fall semesters?
So definitely between the the spring and the fall semester. Students are absolutely eligible for that. And as an international student, if you come to the US, we do work with curricular practical training, or CPT. And so our students are eligible to do internships in the summer with curricular practical training. Now, the January term is a little bit different. It is only a 4-week term. And in the first year, our classes go through that January term. And so students are not eligible to be working because they've got classes during that time. If you stay a second year, then you would be eligible to do a curricular practical training in January of your second year.
I understand. Thank you so much, and
Thank
have
you.
an excellent day.
You too. Jerome, I'm going to open you up for speaking here.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Perfect. Great. So I'm super interested in the program, but I have some doubts about my availability for the in-course components because I'm based in Europe, actually.
Yep.
So is it possible to be admitted, let's say, to the master's program and then downgrade, quote unquote, into the certificate program, obviously before the electives start? And is it also possible to do it like vice versa? So applying for the certificate program and then upgrading.
Yep.
And I guess like a supplement question is, so you mentioned earlier about the credits from the certificate program. So let's say, assuming later on, I decide to actually maybe go for the master's program after already getting the certificate, does that mean I only have to do the electives plus the thesis, or?
Correct. So let me take that kind of in two parts there, which is, could you apply for the master's and at the end of the year recognize you can't do the full electives and complete the certificate? The answer to that is yes. You can, if you do the certificate program, you do the first year with core only and you say, I just can't make it happen, we can move you over. It's more common for students to start in the certificate program if they have some uncertainty and then apply to or continue into the master's program. It's not a guarantee that you'll get in, but what I would say is that if you are successful in the core, our students that do well in the core typically are accepted into the master's program. And yes, those 36 units of core that you take as part of the certificate, they transfer over, they count towards your core requirements for the master's program. So instead of needing 90 units, you need 54 to complete the degree.
All right, thanks for answering. Thank you.
Thank you. I may pronounce this name wrong and I apologize, but Al-Jazi, you're welcome to speak. Let me just unmute you if I can get there. Sorry, there we go. You should be unmuted if you'd like to speak. That is, unless I massacred the name so badly. All right. It looks like they've withdrawn their question. It may have been answered already. Leaky.
No.
Oh, no,
hello?
sorry, you're there. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still there. Sorry about this.
No,
good evening.
no. How do I
morning.
pronounce
I don't
your
know
name?
what. Al-Jazi.
Thank you, Al-Jazi. Thank you. And yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So I was wondering when does the admission start? And my other question is that it's very difficult for me to go to the campus and have in-campus classes. So I was wondering if fully distant learning for the masters can be done, or do I have to come, I think for the thesis, if I'm not mistaken.
The answer is you cannot do it 100% at a distance. You would have to come for one term. And it's actually typically not the thesis that's done on campus. It is your elective and foundational credits. MIT is by and large a university that is an in-person university. There's not a lot of distance programs. We are one of them. But it means that most of the classes here at MIT are not offered at a distance. And so it's actually not possible, even if MIT didn't have the requirement to be in person, it's not possible to complete all the degree requirements at a distance because the classes aren't offered at a distance. So unfortunately, we view it as an opportunity, unfortunate, but I do understand that it's very difficult with work for some people, that you cannot do this degree completely at a distance.
So another question. How long would that be? Is it only one semester, like 3 months only?
Correct. It's a single semester requirement. So in the MIT semester world, it's 13 weeks is what you would have to be committed to coming to MIT.
Okay. And when can we start applying?
So that was your first question, and I didn't answer that. The application period is actually, it's open. It's available on the website right now. And the first deadline is the middle of December. We have 2 separate deadlines. One is the middle of December, one is early March. What I do recommend is anybody who is an international student, earlier is better. We have seen, and there were a couple of students that were impacted by this year, that the visa process for some countries, kind of as COVID recedes, is still very long. So it won't affect whether we accept you, but it does affect potentially that visa timeline. And we do recommend that you give yourself as much time on the visa as possible by applying for that December deadline.
And last question. Is there like an early submission, like early bird, let's say, rates that are different than, for example, if I apply my application in early March, there's any difference in the rates?
So what we will tell you is that we accept qualified candidates as they apply. We don't have a set number of spots available for December and for March. We simply go through, and as we find candidates that we think would be a good fit for the program. So we just don't know how many available openings there'll be come March. So if you can get it in the December timeframe, if you're able to pull all the pieces together, we know that we've got all of the spots available for the incoming class. There just will be less in March. I just don't know how many.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, I may not get this name right, but either Leke or Leek, please go ahead.
Thank you. First off, I just wanted to ask, would this session be posted on YouTube?
Yes, we are
Okay.
recording it, and we will have this posted. The link will be available through our website.
Yeah, okay. So the next is my real question is, I actually applied before, but I wasn't accepted.
Mhm.
You know, I want to know what options there are. I'd like to apply again because I'm hopeful that I will be accepted at some point, but what
Sure.
are my options here?
Well, thank you for staying interested. It is important, and it does show us that you've got an interest, and it's not just trying to look randomly at schools. But what I would say is that we will provide some top level feedback from your application to let you know what the concerns were from the admission committee. So hopefully that'll help you understand what might need to be strengthened on the application for the next time. So just reach out to the SDM admissions website,
Okay.
and we will be happy to provide some feedback.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Hans Wong, please go ahead. Hans, if you're talking, I think you're still muted, so you may need to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have the same question like Leke just now as well. I mean, I applied previous year and I didn't get in, so I guess I just need to send another email to get that
If you
feedback.
can, it's very challenging for us to get to those until we get past the start of school, but we're happy to provide those this fall. They may or may not be detailed, but we'll at least give you some feedback on where the concern areas were if you have applied in the past and are looking to reapply.
All right, okay. And second question I have is, are there any other school that should provide the same kind of program? And if so, how this program actually different and better than the others?
So are there other universities that do a program like this with a systems focus?
Yeah.
So there are other schools that offer engineering management or engineering and management degrees. We're actually part of a group called the Masters of Engineering Management Programs Consortium. It's referred to as MEM, Master of Engineering Management, PC for short, so MEMPC. If you do a Google search on them, there's 8 different universities there that offer similar programs, and we're all a little bit different. Some have students that have less experience. Some are completely at a distance. I would encourage you to take a look there. There's a really high quality universities that are part of this group.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Sumida, I'm going to unmute you. And you can go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi,
Go
thank you so much for your presentation. My question may be slightly different. I'm a bit on the fence about on the program, and I think maybe I can give you a little bit about my background, and I'm hoping that I can talk to somebody at the admissions office or maybe a student to get a sense to see whether it's the right fit.
Sure.
So my background, I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. I got that in 2014 from a US university, and I joined an energy startup company, and I've been with that company for around 8 years now. And throughout that time, I've sort of grown in the company. Now I'm actually a lot more focused on the company's data systems. And so I do a lot of sort of enterprise data system design. And I have a team that I work with. And I'm trying to see whether this program will actually help me in sort of advancing in that same path. But yeah, I don't know if this is a common profile that you see. Yeah. It's not
So
a
thank you.
well-articulated question. But.
And this might be, so I'll give a really kind of top level answer, and this might be something that makes sense for us to talk more one-on-one, just to see where the fit is that we will dig deeper into systems thinking. So some of that is what you're currently doing. We view it as a way to really frame how you approach problems. And so there may be definitely some new pieces in that. I think where you would benefit is partly from that, but also partly from what I would say is filling out your gaps potentially in your background. Because there is such a broad selection of courses on both the technical front as well as in the management school, it allows you to look at those areas that you feel you've got gaps for progression in your career and be able to add incremental expertise based on those courses. And the flexibility of SDM may be beneficial for you there, but it sounds like it may be worthwhile having a specific one-off discussion, because I don't want you coming if you don't feel that it's something that's going to actually help broaden your skill set.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Do you know who I should reach out to start
reach out to, so Amal Ilalim is our admissions coordinator, and she's on this call. I know Amal will put an email message into the chat feature, and reach out to Amal, and she'll find, whether it's me or whether it's another student, she'll find the right person for you to talk to really make sure that it's the right fit for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about the technical issue that we've had earlier. So I had no access to anything during this session. I was just given access as a co-host. So we do have the student that were coming for the panel.
Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize. All 4 did attend, and so did I, but I couldn't speak or I couldn't mute or unmute. So we do have access now. My email address is on the chat. Please feel free to email me. The folks that needed feedback on application, email me directly. I'll get you that. And if you need a visit, if you need to speak to someone, either a student or a staff, please do so through my email. But I'll be more than happy to help schedule whatever it is, a visit or a chat. Thank you.
Amal, if you've got our students, and I apologize because I didn't realize who was on and I couldn't see through the list of folks. If you don't mind having them, unmuting them and having them give an introduction, I think it would be helpful.
I can't unmute. You stole the.
I can do that if you can tell me who I'm looking for.
I think I can unmute myself. So I got the option.
Please do. Yes.
Hi. So hi everyone. This is Divya Krishnan. I just currently started the first year in the SDM program. So I live in Germany. So some of you who are international, maybe just sharing my experience. So I was in Boston for the inaugural boot camp, and then now I'm back attending the classes online. And I also have 12 years of experience in system engineering and management, similar to the course. So I find very insightful, and yeah, you can reach out to me if you have questions. Happy to answer. And for people with families, I have 2 kids, so let that not be a roadblock to you. So all doable. Good luck.
So Divya, if you can actually follow up on one of the earlier questions that I think you would be better equipped to answer, and it was really, how are you able to balance? What is it taking out? I know you're early in the semester, but how are you setting up your work schedule to be able to do this balance while you're at a distance?
Okay, so for me, the most convenient thing is the timeline, because the classes are from 11 to 1 in the core classes. So that is evening 5 to 7 for me. So I finish work at 4:30 on that particular day, start a little bit early, finish my work at that time. And for the group classes and the group assignments and things like that, I work out a schedule with my group mates, which is convenient for everybody. So we set up Teams meetings on a time zone that's convenient for everyone. So the initial first week, I was also a little bit overwhelmed about the amount of stuff that goes on, but I think now it's getting much better. So I can feel that my stress has reduced at least by 70% in the second week. So it's fine. Sorry, somebody's asking something, but I don't. Okay. Yeah. So that's my answer. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I still have some hands up, but I'm going to do a quick scan, Divya, particularly to make sure that questions that may be of use, that you may be able to answer, that you can answer, because I do know that we're coming up on 1 o'clock, and I know there's classes that come in.
Hi, John, Mridula here. So I'm also available.
Oh, please. Thank you so much. So please give a quick introduction, and then I would love you both to talk a little bit about what the cohort is like, kind of what the backgrounds are like, and what you were able to kind of build as far as a network here. But if you can give a quick introduction first.
Sure. So hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. I'm Mridula Prakash. I'm having around 14 years of experience, background in electronics and communication. I'm a remote student currently from India. I have been recently attended the boot camp, and it has been a very nice experience. The cohort has been amazing, with various people coming in from various backgrounds. We get a diverse perspective and understanding, and we really go into the systems thinking, phenomena, and we really rewire ourselves to think differently and to really make use of the entire concepts that are being taught. So I think you all should consider applying, because it has a joint degree from the School of Engineering and School of Management. We get access to both the schools, which is really amazing. And my experience has been fantastic so far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to.
And I totally agree with. Yeah, sorry, go on, John. So I totally agree with what Mridula is saying. It's been a definitely great experience, and the amount of information that you get at MIT is just mind-blowing. So all the Sloan clubs and everything, there's something for everybody. There's multiple things for everybody. So I would just suggest that apart from the academics, soak in the whole MIT experience, and you can do it pretty much also remote. A lot of it, virtual options are available. So just soak in the experience would be my recommendation.
Thank you. I'm going to go to a few more raised hands, and then I know there's a lot of questions in the chat, and I just want to make sure we get to answering those. So if your hand is up and I don't get to it, please definitely jump to the chat. And I know we're at 1 o'clock, and this was scheduled. We will continue, hopefully, until we get all the answers, all the questions answered, and we will post this. So if you're not able to stay, we will make sure that this session is posted. Dinesh, go ahead, please. Whoops, I'm trying to.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Sorry about that. My button was sticky on this side. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, I saw the requirements of standardized tests. So and in the chats also, I could see that there is a waiver, and especially with the English language requirements. So I just wanted to understand what percentage of your cohort has been accepted without these standardized tests?
So it's a little bit of a strange question, not strange question, I apologize. It's a little bit of a difficult question after the last couple of years, because during COVID, access to standardized tests was seriously limited, especially for certain geographies. And so over the last 2 years, we've actually had, I would say, about 50% of our applicants applied without standardized tests. It is not required. We will not discount your application if you don't have a standardized test. That being said, if there are things that you think maybe need explanation on your application, potentially you had some grades that weren't as strong as you thought they should be, then a standardized test may help us understand that you're at a point where you can handle the level of coursework here at MIT. So I would say if it's something that you think will be advantageous to your application, by all means, submit it. If you're concerned that the standardized test, either you don't have access to it or you don't think it's going to help, then go ahead and apply without. I do want to separate out the GRE and GMATs, which is what I'm referring to with the standardized test, from the English language tests. It is required that students be able to demonstrate proficiency in English, and that may be that you've done coursework in English along the way or taking the test. It's just critical because all coursework, obviously, and all project work will be done in English, and we just need to make sure that students have the capability to do an academic program in English. So if you have not done a program in English up until now, then you should be taking a TOEFL or an Ielts as a test of English. I hope that helps.
Yes, perfectly. I got what I needed. Thank you.
Okay. Swati, I'm opening up for you to talk.
Hey, John. So I have a question, as I am considering like reapplying to the master's program. I just want to know from an application process point of view, do I need to, gather all the recommendations and, if some feedback, I know the feedback can be included in my application, but do I have to reach out to my recommenders again?
No, if you have applied before, we can move over the recommendations and the transcripts and things like that. What we do ask on somebody who is reapplying is that you provide us with one new recommendation, not 3, but just 1.
Sure. And another question, sorry, I'm taking more time, is that if we are taking master's program, I understood that we have 3 semesters, and supposingly we are doing this course as part-time. Do we have to consecutively take these 3 semesters, or if due to work we have to like kind of take a break after the 2nd semester, can it be done?
So it is preferred if you continue through, but there are leaves of absence. And if there is a good reason, and work conflicts could be one, we will grant a leave of absence to take time off.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Shreya, if I can get this to work, you should be open to ask your question.
Hi, thank you for that lovely presentation. So my question has more to do with whether or not you think I would be a good fit for this program, because I'm just 24 and I started working 1 year ago. However, it's a family business, so I've been working on and off for like 4 or 5 years now, and it's manufacturing intensive. And I have my bachelor's was in philosophy and leadership. So given that you said that the average profile is 8 to 10 years of work experience, but I'm actually the owner of the business, and I have been working for like 3 or 4 years, and I will be continue to work. So I was wondering if you think that this program is a fit for me or not.
So what's most critical for us and why we have a minimum work experience requirement is that people understand complex challenges in the workplace. So it is, what I would say is that we would consider you, given the work that you've done in the business for the number of years, but I would strongly recommend as part of your essay, making sure that it's clear what your experience is and that experience level. In terms of your background, not everybody who comes in is an engineer. However, it's going to be important for us to see that there's enough math and science background to be able to handle graduate engineering courses here at MIT. So I don't know exactly what's on your transcript as far as the courses you took, but if you don't have calculus and you don't have some advanced science, it would be very difficult to be successful in a graduate engineering class here at MIT.
Right, thank you. And would I be able to make up for that? So I do have some basic math and science courses, but not like intense ones. So would I be able to make up for that using the GRE or some other academic course or some kind of standardized test or something, or I shouldn't even try?
So what I think would be best is actually if you reach out to the email that Amal gave, and actually if you send across your transcript so we can get a little bit of an idea of your background, that'll help us to be able to give a more accurate answer there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I'm going to do 2 more questions, and then like I said, I'll try and go through the questions that are in the chat. Vinay, give me a second. I'm trying to unlock it. Go ahead and speak.
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thanks a lot for confirming. Yeah, so I think my question is in line with what Sriya just mentioned. So I'm just trying to understand the suitability of my profile to the program. So I was an engineer working, working in the IT for about 4 years or so. But later, I think I've pivoted towards the not-profit sector, where I was predominantly leading teams in defining strategies and looking after the aspects of program and program implementation. So in terms of leadership and in terms of understanding the complexities involving in a workplace, I think I have a fair understanding of that from a manager or a management perspective. But this is not purely backing with the technical expertise that typically an engineering manager would be looking at. So having the combination of working as an engineer and later working as a manager in a different sector. So I'm just curious, like, what would be a fine balance of the experience that you're looking from potential candidates? Yeah.
So given the range of industries and the range of backgrounds that our candidates come from, they're out of the 90 students, there's probably 88 different backgrounds that they come in with. So what we look for is demonstrated leadership, that you've been in a position where you've led projects or teams specifically. We look for having had experience in something that has some complexity to it, because our sense is that what you'll learn in the program is going to be directly correlated to understanding those challenges. And then beyond that, there's so much diversity, it's hard to tell specifically. But again, happy to take a look at your background and your resume if that would be of use for you to understand if it might be a good fit.
Sure, that'll be great. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to do one more live question and then we'll go to the chat. Eugene, please go ahead.
Hi, Joey, can you hear me?
I can.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. I have 3 questions. The first one is around a fit question. Second is around employment, and the third is around family support.
Sure.
So I have about 16 years of experience now in an international oil major, and I'm thinking about embarking on the full-time on-site program just for the immersive experience.
Yep.
I'm wondering, given my years of experience, would I be I guess too old for the program?
So let me answer that. We'll go with each question individually. Is that it depends.
Sure.
It depends on what you're looking to get out of this. Can I guarantee that you'll see a 50% bump in your income? No. The further up you are in your career, the harder it is to make that type of large transition jump. If you're looking for it as a way to build some skills to potentially expand the role that you're in, absolutely. If you're looking at it, yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
I can still hear you, Joan. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So if you're looking at it to, again, build a certain skill set, you know, absolutely. We've got a person this year who is, who's got 20 years experience. Actually, we have two that have more than 20 years experience, and their specific goals in the program make sense. And so I wouldn't bring somebody in if it looked like they simply wanted to move into product management, and it may not be a fit, but if there's a fit to what you're looking to do and what we offer, yes.
Great, which leads me to my second question around employment is, as an international student, what kind of support and how much, I guess, time would I have after graduation to secure something promising?
So you would be in on a student visa. There would be an opportunity for optional practical training, or referred to as OPT. This is considered a STEM degree. So in most students in the US, foreign students in the US have a year on OPT, but if you've got a STEM degree, you get a 2-year extension. So you get 3 years of work in the US. We can't guarantee a job, and I want to be absolutely clear on that. But what I will say is we can work with you to help you build a network, to help you connect with companies, to help you be able to make those connections, to be able to find the next spot and next role.
Okay, thanks, Joan. And my last question is, I'll probably will be bringing my family along, and wondering what kind of family support might be available to my partner while I'm studying.
So a lot of our students do bring their families. There is graduate housing here, family graduate housing, and within those family graduate housing, there is a strong community to help support spouses and children. We as a program do an awful lot to try and integrate spouses and children into the program, because we know that if you aren't able to keep that balance, then you're not going to be able to engage fully. So we do, you know, during our orientation, we had a family night, we had a barbecue, we invited spouses to our week 1 wrap up to be able to help them build community. So it is important for us to be able to have that as part of the process.
Thank you so much, Joan. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. All right, I just want to make sure, and I'm going to do a scan through, that we've hit the questions, and I know people are answering in the background, but I'm going to just go through this. There's a question about rolling admit and how many students each year. We do not, we will admit during those 2 periods, that January and that March application. We don't admit at different times during the year. And our incoming cohort is somewhere between 55 to 60 master's students, and somewhere between 30 and 35 certificate students a year. And we are capped at that. We feel we can't deliver a quality education if we get bigger than that. So that's what our cap is. So there's a question on work experience, because the individual here asked, they had 3+ years and had done some time in the master's degree program. We like to see 5. We will consider less than that, 3 to 5, but please make sure that your application helps us understand the roles and the leadership that you've had. That's going to be really critical for us to make sure that you've got enough experience to help understand. There's a question about target domain, and is it mechanical, aerospace, industrial? No, that is where we started. That's where a lot of our history came from. But we have biomedical, we have agriculture, we have food sciences, we have tech. So it's a huge range. And I would say we've seen a growing number of computer scientists and electrical engineers. There's questions on years of experience and fit. Again, I think it's really individual. I would say if you've got a question about that, please reach out to Amal. She can help you connect with students and be able to understand if it's a good match based on some of their feedback. There's questions about transfer of Micromasters, and the answer is no. We don't accept Micromasters transfer credits. They're not affiliated with this program, and therefore have not been evaluated for completeness associated with the SDM program. I think the costs have been identified. There's a question about whether the length of time of the program is what's calculated as a full-time student. Many of our part-time students do it in 2 years. It can take up to 3. We'll work with you, and we're flexible as long as you're progressing towards the degree. The question here is, how is the certificate different from a professional ed certificate? And I do want to touch on that. The SDM certificate is regular graduate credit. So it is a graduate certificate reflecting having taken graduate courses here at MIT. An MIT professional ed certificate is typically a shortened version of a course, but it is not at the same rigor as a master's degree program. You would receive a certificate, but you would not have an MIT transcript. Coming out of this program, you have a regular MIT graduate transcript. Where there's questions here about corporate sponsorship, please reach out to us, and definitely we can work with you and help understand what might be useful to work with your company for sponsorship. Minimal work experience. There's a number of questions here on minimal work experience. 5 years or over are fine. 3 to 5 years, we look very carefully at the type of experience you have to make sure that it's a good fit for the program. There's a question that says, if I attend classes on campus part-time for a semester, do I meet the requirement? It's generally considered to be an equivalent of a full-time for a semester. So it might be 2 part-time semesters or 1 full-time semester to be here. The goal is to get you integrated into the MIT community. A question here as far as a PhD counted towards work experience. Yes, an advanced degree is counted toward work experience. Just make sure that on your application, you talk about the research work that you've done. A question about SDM versus Sloan Fellows. This is interested in technology management or CIO type of a direction. It's a great question. The Sloan Fellows is a condensed MBA program. So it's purely in the MBA space. It's condensed because they recognize some of the experience of somebody who's more senior in their career. A Sloan Fellow typically has around 10 to 15 years experience prior to applying, which is an overlap with our students. Some of our students have less, so it's not a direct overlap. But the Sloan Fellows is going to really build that business foundation. It's going to assume that you have the technology already, and it's going to build the business. The difference that we have, and I would say we're probably more suitable for technology management. They may be more suitable for a CIO. We will require you to take the engineering classes in balance. So you won't have as strong a portfolio in the management side, but you'll have a balance with cutting edge technology classes that would not be open to a Sloan Fellow. So there's a difference there in the engineering marriage that we have in our program. List of courses that are available. The best place to find this, and it's just about up to date, it's only slightly off, is on our website, sdm.mit.edu. If you go into the tab looking at curriculum, you'll be able to get a link to the foundation depth and elective courses. They change a little bit semester by semester, so we update this only about once a year. So it's close. It should give you a pretty good view of where those classes are. There's a question on certificate. It says, is the certificate equivalent to the top of the pyramid? And the answer to that is yes. Those core class, that top of the pyramid is the piece that's consistent between certificate and master's. And that's why those credits are transferable, because they move over. There's a question here, and I'm looking to see if Julie might still be on, and I'm not entirely sure. Yes, you are. Julie, do you want to talk a little bit? There's a question here about employment for internationals and how many are able to find jobs in the US. Can you talk a little bit about the process and the success rate for students finding jobs?
Sure, yes. And I think I did, was this Hans' question? I don't know why my camera's not on.
It's Eugene's question. You may have already jumped in on it. I'm just.
Oh, sorry. Hans had a similar question in the chat. But so basically about, so as Joan said, for the master's students, on average, we have about 60 students per cohort. And of those, about 50% are fully company sponsored. So only about 50% of our students are typically looking for work. On a given year, we have about 20 to 30 students when they graduate looking for full-time employment. And for the last few years of those, pretty much 100% are able to find employment within 6 months of graduation. As Joan said, about 50% of our students are from outside the US. So I work very individually, as Joan said, because most of our students, they are more mid-career, so it's going to be a much more customized job search. So I work with students on an individual basis to help you get clarity in terms of what particular industry you might be interested in. I provide a number of career workshops, also provide connections, also as a sounding board as well. My role really is to empower you to effectively have an effective job search. So, but as Joan did say, in terms of the specifically for international students, because it is a STEM program, you do have the 3 years of OPT. So in general, our students pretty much, they're very successful as long as you're putting in the effort. And as I said, I work very closely with students to help them on their individual career objective. So Joan, I don't know if that answered the question.
Thank you, Julie. That was great. There was a question here that I'll touch on. It says, can we apply to MBA and SDM at the same time? They're two separate applications. You are welcome to apply to both of those. I would say that consider what's a better fit. I do understand that there's some amount of hedging bets to make sure that you've got options, but they're different programs. And so think about what might be a better fit for you. There was a question about whether you can pick the semester for on campus if you start remotely, and yes. There's different classes offered different semesters. Usually our distance students really look to figure out which one is a better fit. Definitely. There's a question here and it's pretty specific. Nathan Clark, if you're still on, asking about national labs. We currently have involvement from both Sandia National Labs as well as Lawrence Livermore. If you would like, happy to put you in touch with a student from one of those national labs, and you can probably get a better sense from them about how it fits for them in their national labs focus. There are a number of questions here about scholarships and application fee waivers. So we definitely, let me touch the application fee waivers that actually, Amal, do you want to talk on the application fee waivers?
Sure. I just answered that on the Q&A. But basically, if you wish to waive the application fee, please email me directly. And I do need a reason to why. And then once I get the admissions committee to approve it, then I'll manually go ahead and waive it for you. It will not stop you from submitting your application. So if it's one thing that you have outstanding, go ahead and complete your application and reach out to me after. The other questions I'm getting is about the Ielts Toefl. Always select the academic version of it. You can send it to me electronically or a hard copy. If you have a copy, you can use that to apply. We'll verify later. If you don't have it ready, you can always add a future date for the required test, which will allow you to submit the application on time. But I will make sure we have the scores before we review.
Thank you. I'm just trying to scan to see what questions may not have been answered at this point.
I have a question for you, Joan.
Sure, please do.
You read and interview applications, so this is a great one for you. What is a successful candidate in your eyes to SDM?
So that is a great question. And I get a similar question that says, what should I put in my essay? You know, what makes a good essay? So a successful candidate for us, you know, we have to make sure you can do MIT coursework. And so the admissions committee looks closely at your academic record. That being said, I know that there are people that got to college and your first year may not have been as good as you wanted, and it took a little while for you to get in the swing of school. We do take that into consideration, and we do look at work experience very heavily. We won't simply rule you out if you had a bad semester or a bad year, but it is helpful if you give an explanation, because academic success is one of the key things that we do look for to make sure that you're going to be successful at MIT. Beyond that, what we're looking for from your essays and your leadership essay is really understanding why SDM. And I know that sounds trite, but we're a degree that's very much focused on complex systems. We're focused on helping build a tool set for you and a way of approaching problems that give you the ability to go into a range of places, a range of situations, and be able to tackle big, complex problems. For us to better understand your background and understand kind of what types of things you've done in the past that show that you've got an understanding of how complexity works in the workplace is really useful for us. So we do pay very close attention to the essays. They all get read, and they all get read by everybody in the admissions committee. So I guess if there were two places that I would say is to really, if you haven't had success academically, and I know that that's tough to change, help us understand why. And from a specifics to this program, help us understand why you're applying to SDM and not a different program, so that we can make sure that it's the right fit for you to be here. Amal, are there other questions that you've seen?
So far questions about the test. So like Joan said, the GRE or the GMATs are optional. So please keep that in mind. It will not be required in the application. If you have them and you would like us to see the scores, we'll be more than happy to review them, but they are not required. So you don't have to submit them. For the language tests for international students, it is, unless your language of instruction from back home or any school you went to was English and it's stated on the transcript, then it will be waived. Or you can contact me directly. If I see that we're communicating fine in English, then I will waive it manually. But when you go to submit your application, again, just put a future date for that test and then work with me in having it waived after.
I know there's a question that just came in that asked, and this is something that's very relevant to us on an ongoing basis. It says, if there's a career break for a woman applicant, does that cause rejections? The answer is no. We're actually fine with career breaks for any applicant. We just would love to have a little bit of rationale to understand why. So please don't hesitate to apply if you're a woman and you took time off, but just give us a little bit of a background and an understanding. There's a question here that I'll jump on, and Naomi did answer it, but I'll just make sure it's clear, is that how long does it take to receive a decision? We wait until the deadline before the applications are sent out to the admissions committee. The admissions committee reviews together at the same time. And so we provide all decisions on that decision date that's listed on our website. So we do wait to the end of the application cycle to send out the decision. It's just that time that it takes us to review applications and go through interviews to be able to provide that feedback.
Can I ask that?
There's a question here saying capacity to handle complexity. So I guess the best way that I would describe it, it's varied, it's different, but if the project you worked on has been one component and you've seen one, you really haven't had exposure to how it fits with other pieces, understanding needs assessment, stakeholder assessment, try to look at optimizing what are some different alternative choices. So that's what I would really mean by breadth and complexity. Typically, when somebody starts early in their career, they may start on a very small piece of it. And as they grow in their career, they have much better exposure to broader parts of the problem and the challenge and how it fits with other parts of the organization. That's really what I'm looking at complexity. And that's the reason that we look at experience for students, is how well or how much experience you have in thinking bigger picture about projects and problems, as opposed to being very focused on individual components or pieces. I think I'm going to look actually to Amal and to Julie and to Naomi. Are there questions we haven't answered that you think we need to tap into? We can obviously answer your questions offline. If you send them over to us, we're happy to respond to them. I just want to make sure there's nothing here that's still really pending.
The distance requirement, the whole on campus versus being remote, and what's available classes wise other than the core for distance students, please.
So as I mentioned a little earlier, MIT is really designed to be an in-person university. There are a handful of classes. So the core is one of them, but there are generally 3 or 4 classes that are closely tied to systems. They're closely tied to our focus. They're engineering and management classes. We try to have a few classes available each term. The goal is not to have you come to campus and have to take 56 units in your on-campus semester, but to be able to take, 1 or 2 potential classes in advance of your on-campus semester. So yes, there are some, there's not a lot, but there are a few classes that are available just to help you manage your load when you're on campus. I hope that helps.
A question about if they have anything that they need to verify or explain from academics to career experience. I did mention that statement of purpose will be a place where they should, because all the readers will read that section.
You can feel free if you've got extra explanation that you want to do, like I said, academics, time off, etc. Write your statement of purpose. And then, put a break line in there, and then feel free to say, would like to provide some additional information, and feel free to put it there. As Amal said, that all of our admissions reviewers will have a chance to see that, so they'll be able to have the context for that. All right, I think we're going to wrap up now. I do want to thank you. We will have this available. So if there's any questions that you have and you want to go back, please feel free to go back. At the same time, if you've got specific questions about your background or your personal fit, please reach out to us individually, and we're happy to help answer that. We're looking forward to getting to meet you. It was great to have our new class come on campus a couple weeks ago. And I know that there are, most of you have just some amazing backgrounds, and we're really looking forward to get to know you through the application process. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.